the biggest influences in our kids' lives go head to head.
Okay.
And I don't think this is unique for us. I think this is any parent with kids.
Sure.
I think any teacher with students. When you're talking about like the things that most impact our children and their decisions, I think there's basically 6 things that we can sort of identify. And then in and amongst those 6 things, like let's pair them off to figure out like what's the most, like the biggest influence.
This is going to be tricky because I'm going to have to be really honest, and it's not going to make me happy with the things that I'm going to have to be really truthful about, you know?
Really?
Like,
welcome to this week's episode of Teaching Keating. What's up, Momo?
Hi, babe.
Hi.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Elephant. Nice to see you.
In another couple months. It's been a minute.
I know. I think it's been like 6 months.
No, it hasn't.
For sure it has.
When was the last one?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't either.
Do you like how I say it with certainty, though? Like,
it's been 6 months.
It's been 6. I think it's been 6 months.
Maybe. I don't know. Ask people on the road because they've been paying attention and you
I
have
think
no idea.
People have bothered me about it for like 6 months.
It's very nice of them.
And they still ask me,
good.
Is Molly here? Which feels awesome.
Because we're a package deal. So I just think that they think like if you are there showing up to speak that they're like, oh, I'm also there.
Just so you all know.
I'm a sidekick.
Like if I show up to speak.
I mean, I am a sidekick.
Someone's got to be home with our children.
Until Everett can drive.
So the answer is no.
Because he like can, you know, even
Molly's
though you're driving.
not here.
Yeah.
Also, it feels good.
It's fine.
Hey.
You're good.
Is your wife here?
It's good. People like us as a package deal.
I wish she was here too.
Okay. Well, we're parenting in the midst of it, so we can't both go to the same places all the time.
I know.
Although we did get to go to Hawaii together, and that worked out well. So thank you, Hawaii Department of Education. You guys were really awesome. For having the whole fam.
Going to Hawaii together always works out well.
It does. I'm just saying we both got to go and speak, and that was great.
Molly's super excited about our topic today, as you should be. It's football. No, sort of, right? So like the NFL playoffs, by the time, like when this releases, like NFL playoffs should still be in full swing.
I'm excited about the podcast. I'm not trying to step on your words, but I have been full throes of football since August, and it is now December.
Hasn't it been so great?
So I am ready for a respite.
Hasn't it been so great?
And by great, you mean I'm tired. Yes.
I'll admit I'm also tired.
Yeah. So high school football. And thankfully, you're only coaching one this year.
We made it to the semifinals. You made
a really long run.
Super proud of our boys.
Anyway, so I'm fine to talk about football. I just will be happy for the rest after. We're not going to talk about it anymore. How
excited are you about Bo Nix and the Broncos? Like
I'm
scale of 1 to 10.
I'm pretty excited. He's a young guy. He's doing a good job. I feel bad because I'm born and bred in Denver, and so I have a lot of. It's not trauma. Like, we're really snobby about our football. We're really snobby about all sports here in the city, but particularly the Broncos.
Yeah, you can't have Bronco trauma. Like, you can have Browns trauma.
Sure.
You can have Detroit Lions trauma.
Fair enough. Yeah, they're like the Cubs in Chicago before they won.
Before they were awesome.
Yeah, before they won. It's a long time. I don't have Broncos trauma. What I'm saying is that we're very snobby because we've had such great quarterbacks and we've won for a really long time. We had all the Shanahan years, you know, John Elway, and then we got Peyton. So we have had a pretty good run. So then when we're immediately not on top, everyone gets super disgruntled in this town. Like feeling great, right to immediately annoyed. And there's not a lot of in between. Just talk to our neighbors in our cul-de-sac. They have a really hard time.
Oh.
One in particular.
The number.
So I'm just saying.
The number of all caps text messages that I've had over the course of the last 3 years.
I'm very excited about Bo Nix, but also everyone was excited about Russ last year, and that didn't seem to pan out. And then everyone's excited about Sean Payton, and he's doing okay. But all the coaches before him, I mean, we had a gamut.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Good. That's very nice of you.
But as of the recording of this podcast, it looks like we're going to make the playoffs.
Feeling good. Let's knock on some wood, everyone.
Knock on wood.
We all did it at the same time.
I know.
It's good.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So in the spirit of sort of like talking about the playoffs and not necessarily talking about football, because we're
going to talk about football, but yes, let's use it as our avenue to go.
I want to have like a playoff scenario where we set up a bracket and we talk.
This is not what I thought was in the notes.
I love that you hate this already.
I don't hate it. I'm just saying it's not what I read, but okay, let's go. I'm going with it. Let's go.
We can go whatever way you want.
Here's
what's in my brain.
Go through. Yes.
Here's what's in my brain.
Tell me your idea.
We
and then
set
I'll
off
decide if I want to
like
do it
a
or
playoff
not.
bracket scenario.
Okay.
Where we talk about like things that influence kids most.
Okay.
Right? And then we pair them up.
Okay.
To see sort of like what we think is the number one most influential thing in our kids' lives.
Okay. And it's going to be our just thoughts, and then we're going to go off of like what the actual research is?
I have no research for this episode.
Well.
No.
Okay. Just our thoughts?
I'm just interested in what you think.
Okay. So are you going to guess first? Or are you giving them to me and I'm going to guess?
I'll feed you, baby bird.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Great. Thank you. All right, let's go with this. I'm fine with it.
Okay, good.
This is not what I thought it was, but I'm happy to go this direction.
It's essentially like, just like the playoffs,
Sure.
the biggest influences in our kids' lives go head to head.
Okay.
And I don't think this is unique for us. I think this is any parent with kids.
Sure.
I think any teacher with students. When you're talking about like the things that most impact our children and their decisions, I think there's basically 6 things that we can sort of identify. And then in and amongst those 6 things, like let's pair them off to figure out like what's the most, like the biggest influence.
This is going to be tricky because I'm going to have to be really honest, and it's not going to make me happy with the things that I'm going to have to be really truthful about, you know?
Really?
Like, well, I'm just saying, like, I think I would like certain things to have influence over our children, but like if you're going to... I'm going to have to admit to myself that the things that that I would like to be influencing them may not actually be the impact of like things that you want.
I think you're going to be right.
Things that I want.
And things that you want.
Things that I would like them to be impacted by will not necessarily be the things that are winning out. Anyway.
Okay, then I won't.
We'll see what they are.
Then I won't go to the most vulnerable right away.
Yeah, let's please not. Like we need a gradient. Like you need to like, let's build up because I can't go.
In, my friends. Okay, let's start with the 2 that don't have anything to do with us.
Okay, great.
So let's pair these up. Friends or teachers, which has more influence? And hold on.
Okay.
You can take can take teachers/coaches.
Sure.
Right? Like who, and it's not who do we hope has more influence.
I know.
Who actually.
Yeah. Okay. That was just what I just went through.
You're already
out loud.
Like you need 0 processing time.
I'm already wrestling. Yeah, I don't.
Friends or teachers/coaches, which has more influence?
So let me give you the caveat right now. It needs to be based on the ages that your children are, or the students.
I knew you were going to throw an asterisk on this.
There's no asterisk. I'm just saying, brain development wise, it matters a lot.
Okay.
In terms of like,
we're talking about our children.
Yes, I know.
One of whom is 13.
Sure.
One of whom is 15.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, if you're an educator or your parent listening, you have to take into consideration what the ages of your classroom is and/or your current ages of your children, because that's going to matter a lot in terms of impact.
That's fair.
That to be said, our adolescent children are solely influenced by their peer group right now.
You think it's friends?
A lot. Like way more than teachers and coaches.
You answered that so like
because
with 0 thought.
100% true. No, I thought about it. I already knew though. It didn't take like, I wasn't like,
I thought about it. I already knew though.
Yeah, really. I mean, just anecdotal, like how many interactions have you had this week with our daughter about like, I mean, come on. It's
about
only her
stuff?
Friends right now. Yes. Yes. She only talks to like teachers or coaches when I force her into actually having any conversation about it.
So, but think about like her dance
I know.
teachers.
I was thinking that too. Like
Those
there's
ladies,
one in particular, and
Miss
she
Erin.
spends a lot of time. Yes.
Yes. Profoundly influential.
She's the Pied Piper.
In
She
our
has
daughter. And
for all of them. But
P.S.
yes,
I adore her.
I do too. She's
Yes.
great. She's a great influence. But I'm just saying, in comparison to all those other girls in the room that she's with and who she hangs out with day to day, it's always friends. Yeah. For our son, it's friends, but I would say there's some coaches in there a little bit more so than our daughter.
I mean, obviously, it's a yes and, right?
Sure.
It's not an either or. It's a yes and. But
I know. Answer it honestly, not what you want it to be.
I don't want
though.
to answer it honestly. I want.
I saw
I want
you
to
go
answer.
there.
I want to answer what I want.
I know.
Because here's why.
Because you want to put it into the universe, and then it will magically be true. But that's not going to be the case.
I want this to be true as a parent and as a coach/teacher.
I know, but
right?
that's about you. Answer it for what it is. I love that you're having such a hard time. You're just not going to say it. You got to sit there and take a pause. Okay. It doesn't have to be my answer, but you have to have a truthful answer. So if that truthful answer happens to align with my answer,
also your answer.
It's because it's true. It can't be what you want. We had this at the beginning of the podcast. It
I
can't
know.
be like what I wish that it was. I literally just went through that.
I wish it was teachers and coaches.
Me too.
If I'm being honest,
Yes.
it's probably friends.
Yeah, it is. Right now.
That sucks.
No, it doesn't. It's the nature of adolescence. It is what it is. You know what it means? It means you really need to care who are in your kids' life.
Here's the good news. Our kids have great friends. Mm-hmm. Girl.
Mm-hmm. They do.
They do.
Let's keep them. Our kids have really good discernment, and it's something that so back to us, what we would like it to be, right? I do think something that just win for us, although we have had so many other parent fails, one of the places where I think we've done okay is to say to them,
classic Molly, she thinks we're failing. I think we're killing it.
Yeah, that's our life, right? But I do think we've consistently gave them the messaging over the years since they were in preschool, like play with people with good hearts, have friends that you care about and who you are like being around, and they make you feel good and you feel good being around them.
Correct.
Or sorry, you make them feel good and you feel good being around them. And that matters. And if they don't, like, listen to your heart. And if it feels yucky or you don't like it, then you don't have to play with them.
Yeah.
You can't be mean to them, but you just play with somebody else or go do something else, or you're not locked into anything. And I think that has served them well historically. Our daughter more than our son. It's interesting. When we went and saw Wicked the other night, we had a conversation before we went when we were eating. And we were talking about their friendships, and we said, like, okay, give me, like, over time, who do you think is like your best pal? Why or why not?
This was such a fun game.
It was a good game.
Because
you're good with that. You're good games.
Just to give some context.
Go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to take credit for the game.
You did, but it's good. It was a good game. They played along.
But the game was like, our kids were asking, like, hey, who's your most favorite friend of mine?
Yes.
Who's your least favorite friend of mine?
Our daughter started it.
Yes.
She said, tell us why. Which she's always like really interpersonal like that. She just
it was
a
circle of trust game for
was,
sure.
So we can't tell because we had a circle of trust.
No.
Mm-hmm. And we had great reasoning. We said this person because...
And they got to play for us, too.
Yes, they did.
They're like, okay, now take mom and dad's friends.
Robin.
Like, who's your most favorite? Who's your least favorite friend? Like, and it was really interesting, I think, for them to hear what we thought and for us to hear what they thought. Also, this is a thing we have focused on this with our kids for a really long time. Like, hey, choose really good friends, because you and I had heads up, all the parents out there, like, for as reluctant and begrudgingly as I answered this question, like, we have seen this coming for a long time, like the impact that friends were going to have.
Sure.
And
that's because we're geeky educators and we know the impact social circles have. So yes,
and there's
a lot of research.
Like, you and I have done tons of work over and over and over on sort of like, hey, like, let's make sure our children are surrounded by really great friend groups. And
not everybody gets to be in your circle.
Correct.
That's the other piece, which I think,
because ultimately we were like, and I think you probably more than me were foreshadowing this moment of like, hey, we're going to get to a moment in time, 13, 14, 15 years old, where we're going to be walking around our house and we don't know shit. And our friend, like our kids' friends, like, they're the oracles of wisdom and knowledge and information. And so, like, okay, if we're forecasting that, like, let's make sure that they have a really good group of friends.
Well, and I think also, not like you can cultivate that because you don't want to be manipulative and you're not like puppet mastering your kids, but I do think it's really important to give them the power intentionally and out loud to say, like, you have it in you. You have instincts. Your heart's going to tell you what's important, and you need to listen. Like, it not always, like, you can, some people are rough around the edges and you need to give people more space or more time. Not everyone is immediately your best friend or not, but your gut instinct tells you a lot about a human being, just in general. And I really care about this more for our daughter than our son.
Your gut instinct tells you a lot about a human being. Mine,
I think
lies to me, like John and I just talked about this, like, mine lies to me every day.
I don't think it lies to you.
Because I think people are nice and kind and wonderful.
I think that. I always, you will never be able to ever convince me that people are not innately good. I go to bed at night thinking, like, there's more good in the world than bad, and I always am going to choose to see that in every human being I come in contact with, or not. However, to your previous point, just because you want something to be true doesn't mean it is true. So, like, also, every human being has good and bad, and it doesn't mean that you have to hate on that person, but I do want the kids to cultivate their own instinct about like, how do I feel about this? Or, I don't like this. Or, this person makes me feel bad, and listen to that.
And we talked with our kids a lot about this whole concept, like this concentric circles approach to friendships and relationships, right? Like kids are hard, right? Because they operate under like, hey, there's one circle.
Sure.
And either you're
Everybody's
in or
my
out of
friend.
the circle. And because that's the case, there's a ton of people who are in the circle. It's like, no, like you have concentric circles. Like who are your ride or die people?
Yes.
Right? Like who are your like dig a hole with people?
Sure.
Right? If you needed to call them in the middle of the night, and then like it extends out from there. And like just because these aren't sort of like Everett's a great example, right? Like he's got his ride or die couple of buddies. Right. And he's ride or die with those guys. But he's got a lot of people who exist on sort of like exterior versions of that circle.
He has a lot of acquaintances, and he has a lot of dudes, and he gets along with everyone, but he's not, and he's friendly with everyone, but he's not friends with everyone.
I like that.
Sure.
I think it more adequately prepares kids for what actual adult relationships look like.
I don't disagree, but I also think it's the nature of just like their adolescence. Like you have to feel people out, and people are you have certain friendships in your life for certain reasons. And then as you grow and mature and gain wisdom and all the things, like people come in and out of the circle. That's fine. I think it's different for girls, particularly middle school girls, because there's so much emotion and
there's so much social capital on
and just
friends,
hormones are happening
and
and all of the things, and you don't want to be mean, but then you're underhanded mean because you don't like what this person did. It's just like, it's all this busyness and noise. So I think I tried to cut that off of the pass really early with our daughter. I don't know how well it's going.
All right.
We'll see. I like her friends right now.
Friends.
She has sweet friends. So, they're the influence.
Okay. So
hands down.
Let me make.
Hands down. It's not us.
Okay. No.
Sorry.
Now you're just trying to hurt me.
I'm not. It's just the truth.
All right.
It's not hurtful. It's true.
Next face off.
Yes.
Next playoff is media or role models. Who's the bigger influence, media or role models?
I mean, our kids don't have social media.
I'm not talking social media. I'm talking media. Like our kids don't have social media, but like we're idiots if we don't think they're exposed to elements of social media. Like
No,
they know what
they
reels
are.
are. They've seen TikTok videos. Like they've like
just because they don't have
YouTube.
it on their phone doesn't mean it doesn't come through in the text message and they can't view it. It can. Yes.
So like
I understand. I know. I understand. I would say.
I actually think this one's really easy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I'm having such a hard time.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And not because I'm trying to be dense either. I really don't know.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Media.
What? Tell me why.
How do you because it's all encompassing. There's a media saturation that exists with not just our children, but almost everyone's children. Like they're constantly being exposed. Like even if your kid, some of you are like, well, this is why my kid doesn't have a phone. Like even if your kid doesn't have a phone, guess who has one? Everyone they know. And so it's like they're constantly like, oh, look at this. Like that all has a profound impact on kids.
Okay. So
listen to the words they use, right? Like anyone with a middle school kid is so tired of hearing like, bruh, skibbity. Like is like there's a reason that is universal. Like
I don't know.
It has everything to do with media. Like they didn't all meet up together and decide like, let's use the most obnoxious vocabulary in the world.
I mean, in the late 90s, I used gnarly ad nauseum. You know? I mean, I'll still throw it in every now and then. And I didn't have any media at all. I just really liked that word. I heard it and I liked it. I was like, yep, I'm going to use that.
Really? But you weren't even like a skater?
No, I wasn't. I just, like to not be put in a box, and they're like, who's that girl? Gnarly.
You know what word you've been using lately?
Oh, I don't know.
You're bringing back. You're bringing back boss.
I
like
go through
a champ.
my reels.
You said it last night.
Oh, I did?
While we were watching the movie.
Oh, okay,
that
funny.
was so boss.
No,
and I was like,
didn't.
100% you did.
I didn't.
I promise you. Last night when we were watching the movie.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
You've said it several times over the last few days. I've made a mental note of it because it is.
I liked Rad. That was a good one.
You still like Rad?
Oh, I do.
You got me on Rad. Like,
yeah, I really.
When I met,
this is a good vocabulary.
When I met you, and I was
excellent adjectives,
young and easily influenced, and I was like, God, here's this pretty girl. Like she's still using Rad.
Yeah.
I was like,
maybe I was sorry for her.
Maybe I was wrong to give up on it so early.
I missed the boat. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm surprised that you say media.
Yeah. Why are you surprised?
I just don't think it's as prevalent. Sorry. It's 100% prevalent. I just don't.
Look what we're doing.
I know, but I do think I'm just going to say, I think it's prevalent. Hold on.
Okay, sorry.
It's prevalent more in the West. Like we took the kids to.
Prevalent more, where have you been traveling?
I mean,
without me recently.
Not without you, but with you. Like when we were in England a couple years ago, I didn't see kids on phones 24/7. I saw.
That's because we weren't in kid places.
But you're talking to its prevalence around the world, and I just don't necessarily think that's true.
Okay, isolate it to America for a second.
I'll even give you North America. How about that? I don't know. Maybe to kids our specific age group, but then I'm just thinking like I don't think it's as prevalent as you think, because like look at I'm talking about my nephews. We'll talk about anecdotal, like children that were around all the time. I was like, they're not influenced at all, nor should they be. Like they're maybe watching a little bit of TV, but they're not like, I don't know.
They're watching like Netflix all the time.
I don't know. I just don't know if I agree.
I can't believe we disagree on this. And it's not because
I'm trying to disagree. I'm literally authentically thinking it through, and I just don't know the answer. I don't know if I 100% agree that I think it. I mean, maybe for our children because they're age group, but I just don't know.
Who are our children
overall?
Okay, so if it's media or role models.
Sure.
Let's play a game.
Okay, we're already playing a game, but let's do a game in a game. Let's get real meta.
Yeah. Could you, what would you have a harder time mentioning?
Sure.
Their top 3 most favorite sort of like shows or things to watch, or their top 3 role models?
Favorite shows.
Would be more difficult?
Yes.
What? Who are their, what?
Yeah. You just named them.
People have to listen to our podcast and be like, they don't know their children or each other at all.
They do. We do. We just disagree. We don't have the same brain. Thankfully, I'm actually okay. We're not a homogenous group here, man. We think on our own, and we just don't necessarily agree all the time. That's okay.
You would have an easier time naming their 3 role models.
You just named them. You named them from Shar. You said Miss Heron. Well, and I would say another one of her older teachers who's not her teacher, but one of the high school girls who she teaches with is a good mentor, and she talks about her a lot. And then I would say one of her other friends.
No, that doesn't count.
Why?
I'm talking role model. Like,
but between her favorite shows? I'm just talking about influences.
Role model is different.
All right, you're right.
Yeah.
I would say my sister. She doesn't listen to anything I say, but she listens to her aunt all the time.
Yeah, you're probably
about everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Okay. But I couldn't tell you like what, I don't know what she's watching right now. She's not watching a ton. She's at dance all the time. So I don't know.
I actually won't. I won't put on blast what she's watching, because maybe she'll be like embarrassed by it.
Okay. I don't know. All right. Anyway, so we diverge on that one. We are not aligned.
Wow.
That's a playoff. That's a wild card.
This was the playoff.
Okay, well, that's a wild card spot. We don't agree. I don't know.
Is that not
how it works?
Not using that phrase right.
Okay.
No. This like media and role models.
There's not one that wins out. There's not one that wins out.
Though that's the worst. So it's a tie. You can't have a tie in the playoffs.
Well,
NFL
overtime
rules. You cannot have a tie.
Overtime rules.
You just keep saying football.
I don't know. I don't know.
Playoff.
I'm just trying to.
Overtime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's a tie.
It's a tie in playoffs. I don't know how that works. Good thing it's a podcast and not actual playoffs.
Are you ready? Now here's the hard one.
Yes, please. Oh, this is the hard one.
Which has a bigger influence in our kids' lives, parents or faith?
Parents. It just does. Because one begets the other. But it's parents right now.
Well, you're hedging your bet a little bit there.
I'm not hedging my bet. I'm just saying I know in terms of how either consistent or inconsistent we are, and I'll just say that as an overreaching for the way that faith is transferred amongst peoples and generations to begin with. I'm just going to go real big with that one. However, there is a lot of research around that it is primarily your parents. So it's just parents. That's mine. What do you think?
I agree with that.
Oh, okay, good. We were only divergent on one. Great.
Yeah.
2/3. We're still winning. It's good.
Like that has everything to do with sort of like the emotional and mental and spiritual maturity of kids.
Yeah, but that's human beings.
I know. Faith is something you grow into.
That's human beings.
Right?
Yeah.
Or out of.
Yeah.
Right? In some cases, hopefully into.
Yeah,
right?
I hope.
I know Jerry's still out.
We'll see.
But they only grow into it. Like if your parents do a good job.
Well,
giving
I don't
you
know.
a good
I know a lot of
foundation.
people whose parents did a real crap job and they're like off the ranch for sure. Who had really good intentions and they tried really hard.
Yes, but that's my
But they
point.
went too
Yeah,
much.
but
And I think that's for all faith
I said
traditions.
do a good
I
job,
don't feel like that's
not
unique
try
to ours.
super hard. Because
Okay.
I think try super hard doesn't always equate to good job. I think it means like super aggressive and rigid in some cases, and then
I think
kids
for
are just
all
like
faith
"Ugh."
traditions, everybody has a different methodology.
Okay.
I also think for people that I know that are just have any faith traditions in adulthood, like I'm just thinking my friends, like who are, who are still practicing Judaism or any sort of Christian tradition or anything, Buddhism, whatever. I do find that most of that happens in adulthood from their own choice and their own will of choosing it and their friendships back to like who they're around and who necessarily like
perfect segue.
influences them in a positive or negative way
Perfect
and how
segue.
they see that playing out in their life. Go ahead.
We did 6 influences. We disagreed on 2 of them.
Okay.
All right, which leaves the remaining 2, right? Top tier. Who's more influential on our children, parents or friends? Is your world going to come crumbling?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, this is going to be really hard.
For us, right now in this moment.
Okay.
That's because, to your earlier point, the age matters.
Yes.
If you have 4 and 6-year-olds, duh,
Right.
it's you, parents.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you don't. Like, if you have kids who are preteens, teenagers, like early adults, who's the greater influence?
I'm just going to go based off of our own parental relationship because that's my only schema and that's the only thing that I can do.
Okay.
So I would say in adulthood, hold on. I don't get mad because I'm not answering it the way you want me to answer
Play
it.
the game.
I know where you're going with this, but just don't get mad. Like, let me play it out in my brain.
Okay.
So I'm saying the relationship that I have with my parents now, I see the impact over my lifetime in my mid 40s of like how influential they've been. That has not always been the case. Like consistently, like in my 20s, it was my good girlfriends and it still remains to be my good girlfriends. I just saw them this month. They have a high level of impact, but I'm saying over time, I would say that it has been my parents and my relationships, positive and negative, right? Like things that I don't love.
That's a
that
whole
I
different
still
podcast.
have. That is a different podcast. That's a way later podcast. We're outside of the holidays because we're too entrenched right now.
We're gonna need alcohol
We
for
don't
that
have
podcast.
time. We don't have time to delve into all of that. Now, looking back in adulthood, it is my parent in my familial relationships, positive and negative, like all the stuff they've given me that impacts me the most. I would hope right now for our children at the age they are, I hope it would be us, but I don't know. And that's the God's honest truth. I really don't know. I don't know. It's day to day. Sometimes I'll have like a conversation with each one of them and be like, that's a win. Good. Okay. You heard me.
Yeah.
You're picking it up,
I think.
but I don't know.
I think we're in.
I can answer this in 10 years. I don't know.
I think we're in the closing. I still feel like it's us.
Okay.
God, what is like? There's people who are looking at us right now going,
You
like,
are a moron.
These dumbasses
It's not
still
you."
think it's them.
It's not you at all. I think my parents and my siblings would be like, do you think it's you? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. You think
I really
it's you
am
still.
trying to answer this question as honestly as possible.
I am too.
And I think right now it's still us, but I think we are in the closing moments.
I think we're in the closing moments for our son. I
Of that
think our
being true.
daughter is already off. I think she's off and running. That's what I think.
Wow. Which is
Sorry.
wild given the age difference. Like
Yeah.
she's younger, he's older.
I know, but she just is.
Oh. Welcome to this episode of Broken Hearted Father.
I'm not trying to sucker punch you at the end.
I'm your
not trying to
host.
give you. I'm not trying to get you to the gut at the end.
Dude, that one hurt.
I'm not saying you. Okay,
I'm not saying you said it.
Don't spin out of control.
I'm not. That's what I do.
I know, but you gotta.
We've talked about
let's
this 1,000
modulate.
times.
I know.
I was just at a 10. I was
I know,
so joyful,
I
so
know,
happy. Like,
I
we're in this
know.
new space. It's great. And now it's just like, well,
let's.
our daughter's already gone.
Keep it at no, she's not
And
gone.
one.
Let's keep it emotionally stable right now. I'm not saying
I don't
you
do
have
emotional
zero
stability.
influence. Well, that's
do.
another podcast in general
I
too.
do.
However,
I do huge pendulum swings.
okay, let's not. What I'm saying is you still have a lot of influence. And I would say you have more influence over her right now than I do, just because fathers
nice of you
and
to throw me a bone.
fathers and daughters are different than mothers and
I do agree
daughters
with that.
in adolescence. That's just true. So that to be said, I think you still have more influence. Everett is a little bit more he's a pleaser. He wants to do what he wants to please us. He really takes our thoughts into consideration, and he tries to appease, honestly, in this state that I more than please, which I don't love either way right now. Char just takes into consideration what we think, but then she does her own thing. She's really has a mind of her own, and she always has. And that's just the difference in our children.
Yeah.
Not necessarily age and maturity, and all of that will come. It's okay. We still have influence. All is not lost.
All right.
It's just not as much as we want.
I'm going to end on a happy note.
Okay, please.
You're
Sorry about the gut punch.
I'm going to end on a happy note. You're right. I do probably have more influence over Charlotte right now. Here's
okay.
Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Go.
But I will say, in terms of like dad-daughter moments,
yes,
that I love, Charlotte and I just had one.
Great.
I went for the first time.
Oh yes, this is good.
Yesterday.
It's encouraging to dads out there everywhere.
She wanted to go get her nails done, and that's usually a you and Charlotte thing. Yep. You had a ton of stuff going on, and she was like, "Dad, do you want to go get nails done?" And I was like, "I mean, I'm not going to get my nails done." I was like, she was like, "You should get a pedicure." And I was like,
what were your initial thoughts when she said that? Were you up for it? Were you like, oh, this is very high grade. I'm very vulnerable and very nervous?
Here's the thing.
Because men in nail salons, that is a whole different gamut of, it's a high grading activity.
Being in the nail salon, it was double black diamond for me.
Okay.
Right? not because like I give a shit about being in the nail salon.
No.
It's just like being in a new place.
Yes.
And then knowing that when you walk in, people are like, this guy doesn't belong here, or at least feeling that.
Sure.
But that was also matched by excitement because I knew like, oh, pedicures mean like foot rubs, and I love a good foot rub.
That's how I feel when I get Everett to get his haircut, because going into a barber, a true
broy.
barber
super
style,
broy.
like a woman, and you're someone's mom in there, and he's already embarrassed. I was like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable. So I get it. I understand. That's very.
I'll say this.
Okay.
It was awesome. It was.
They're awesome.
Incredible.
Everybody should go get a pedicure at any given time.
I must have messaged a dozen people.
Oh, you were on. You were on a tip. Yeah, you were.
You guys have been holding out. This is incredible. Also, we went to one where they have a bar. Yeah, and
it was a really good one.
They'll serve you drinks.
You really.
It was. Here's the thing.
It was good.
I think it's wildly expensive.
Yeah, but you get what you pay for. Also, it's great. You loved it. You'll be going back.
100% chance.
Yes, I know.
I must have looked at Charlotte 6 times and been like, hey, anytime you want to come back, I'm in.
I know.
Like, you text me like, hey, do you want to go on a day here? I was like, we can come back tomorrow.
Sure. I mean, that's not a good idea. We shouldn't go back tomorrow. Those people would be so happy if we did, but I was like, oh, that's not good for the budget. Because it is a really,
also
nice.
I posted it on social media.
Oh, good.
And I must have
that's great.
I got no less than 6 messages back from my buddies. Saying exactly what you would imagine, like a group of like your college buddies or stuff.
Well, they don't have
also,
daughters.
Miss me with that.
Pedicures
Pedicures
are
awesome.
Daughters. One does.
If you take nothing else from this podcast, gentlemen, they're holding out. Like, pedicures are awesome. Go get one.
They're for everybody. They're all inclusive.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Teaching Keating. As always, you can find us anywhere podcasts are listened to. Find us on the YouTube channel. Molly, where can we find you?
You can find me driving around Littleton with my children. It's the holiday season, so I'm mostly just driving, but we're through Nutcracker and we're through football, so I'm really happy about that. We're easing up a little bit, although my driving continues. It's great. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. We're easing up to places that we're going. I'm not driving as far or as much, so it's great.
Love it.
No problem.
All right, we'll catch you on next week's episode, everybody. Be well.
Be well.